Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you are new, my name is Kristle. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I typically upload videos once a week and they're either going to be beauty tutorials or beauty reviews, or sometimes I'll post vlog type of videos as well. So please don't forget to subscribe before you leave. I would love to have you as part of my YouTube family. And today we are just going to jump right in. I am going to be showing you guys all of my Holy Grail makeup brushes. I've been getting a few requests on Instagram to do a whole post dedicated to my must-have, can't live without Holy Grail makeup brushes. And so today I'm really excited to be filming this video. I do have a lot of brushes to go through, so I will be as quick as possible, but I do have a good amount of brushes to go through. So hopefully this video helps you decide what brushes to go out to get based on what you're looking for. I will say that 80% of my brushes are Morphe brushes. So I just wanted to put that out there before I start, just because I am going to be going through a lot of Morphe. They are just my favorite brushes, and I think that they are the best quality, especially for the price. I used to use all MAC brushes, but honestly, to me, Morphe brushes are much better in quality and just like the way they feel and the way that they work, and the price, you just cannot beat it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the face. The first brush I want to talk about is the Morphe M510. I love this brush for liquid foundation. It's very dense, but it's also really soft at the same time, and it just blends out liquid foundation flawlessly. If I am not going to be using my beauty blender that day, which the beauty blender is just my main tool for applying liquid foundation, but if I'm just feeling lazy or I just don't want to use my beauty blender, then I will go in and use this brush, and it is the absolute best. This brush is also really great for stick foundation. I just personally don't like using a beauty blender for stick foundation. I prefer to use a brush. I think it just works better. So if you're looking for a really good brush for stick foundation, this one is going to be your best friend. So lately, something that I have been doing instead of using foundation when I'm just in more of a hurry is I've been using concealer all over my face. I do have a video, I will link that down below. I do have a video of like the process that I've been taking when I want just a quicker full face of makeup and I don't have the time to, you know, be blending out my foundation. I have been using concealer, and this is the brush that I use for that. This is the Real Techniques Sculpting Brush, and I really love like the angle of this brush. I think it fits really great on the face, and for some reason I just really love this brush for blending out concealer on my face. I don't know why. I don't know, just this angle, it just gets me. I love it. And the brush is super soft, and it's still really dense. It sort of reminds me of this one, but just in a different shape. This would also really be good for liquid foundation and stick foundation as well. So I'm just being extra with these two, but I really do think this one would work really great for liquid foundation and stick foundation as well. Okay, the next face brush I'm going to talk about is a NYX brush. It doesn't have a name, it just has a number 3 on it, but I want to say it's one of their like buffing brushes. This is my favorite brush to use for powder foundation. The one powder foundation that I absolutely love is the Bare Minerals powder foundation. I use this brush for it. I think it just blends powder foundation beautifully on the skin, and it just gives like a really flawless finish. Okay, this next brush is also another NYX brush. Again, it doesn't have a name, but it has the number 26 on it. I'm assuming that their brushes are just separated by a number. The main thing that I use this brush for is just kind of like in the crevices of my face. Sometimes the beauty blender, when I'm using it to blend out my foundation, it can be a little bit too big for certain areas of my face, like to get into the crevices. So like right around my nose, and then on my forehead, like right above my eyebrows and in between my brows. So for me, I have like a really small forehead, and like the areas right here are really tiny on my face. And then right around my nose area is just really deep on the side. And so this brush is so good for like after I put on all my foundation with my beauty blender, I will go in and take this brush and just like blend out the foundation in all of the crevices in between my forehead, right above my brows, and it just makes my foundation look even more flawless just because it's not caked up in those areas where I have the most problems with my foundation caking. Okay, the next brush I'm going to talk about is a Morphe brush, and this is the Morphe E3. I I personally use this brush to dust off all of the translucent powder after I'm finished setting my concealer and my T-zone. After I've applied my translucent powder with my beauty blender, I will go in and just dust it off using this brush. I just love it because it is so soft and it just blends everything really well into the skin, and I just love this brush. I think that another way you could use this is if you go in to use powder to set your foundation. I personally don't use a lot of powder to set my entire face, but if you use a powder to set your entire face, you will really like using this brush for that. Okay, the next brush that I'm moving on to is this Real Techniques brush. This is the setting brush, and I know a lot of people use this brush like to set their under eye with powder. To me, it's too small to do that, but I love using this brush for cream bronzing. So sometimes when I want just a more natural bronzed look, sometimes I just really love using cream bronzer, and sometimes it can be really intimidating to apply cream bronzer to your skin, especially if it's in stick form. So what I do is I take this brush and I sort of just dip it into the cream bronzer or the stick bronzer, and I just blend it onto the contours of my cheeks, on my forehead, right on my nose, like on the sides of my nose. And then I'll even take some, if this is just like on a day where I'm just wearing minimal makeup or I don't want to do the whole eyeshadow thing, I will just dip it into the bronzer and actually just apply it all over my lid, kind of just messily. And this brush is just perfect for all of that. Okay, my next brush, this is one of my favorite brushes of all time. This is the Morphe M527. I use this brush for powder bronzer. I love her. I love her. I know this brush may look like it's huge. It is a bigger brush, but the way that it's just like tapered, I don't know, it just fits perfectly right where your bronzer is supposed to go, and it blends out flawlessly. I got a crack in my voice. I love the way this it just kind of fits everywhere. Like I put bronzer up here, on my cheeks, on my jawline, down my neck, and sometimes I'll even just kind of like throw it over my nose a little bit just to give that natural bronze look. I can't say enough good things about this brush. If you are looking for a really good bronzer brush, look no further. This one is it. All right, the next brush I'm going to talk about is for blush. This is the Morphe. Okay, I'm good. This is the Morphe E4. I love this brush. Obviously, I love all these brushes, but this one is just the best brush I've ever used for blush. I don't know that I'll ever use anything else other than this brush. I think it's the perfect shape. It fits like perfectly on the apples of your cheeks. So it doesn't pick up so much blush to where it's like, and it's just like so much blush on your cheeks. This one just provides a really natural wash of color, and I just love it. It's so soft, and it's just the best. It's the best blush brush ever. All right, now on to highlight. My one and only highlighting brush. This is the Morphe M510. I just love the longer bristles on it. Number one, it is so soft, but I love the longer bristles on it, and it's a little bit tapered towards the top, so it just fits perfectly like right there on the apples of your cheeks where your highlight goes. It blends the highlight so flawlessly to where the highlight just looks like it's part of your skin. I also use this like when I want to put highlight on my forehead, of course, right down the center of my nose, right on my chin, on my cupid's bow. I use this brush to pretty much highlight my entire face. All right, this one is just short and sweet, very self-explanatory. This is my eyebrow brush. This is the Anastasia brush number 12. So I use this brush when I'm applying brow powder or pomade to my brows. Number one, I really love the shape of it. Of course, it has an angled shape, but the thing that I love most about this brush is that it is very dense. Sometimes you'll find eyebrow brushes that aren't dense enough, and so it doesn't give you that like sharp brow that you want. And this one has such a good density of the actual bristles, and I love it. It also has a spoolie at the end of it to blend out any powder or pomade that you put on your brows. So it's kind of like a two-in-one. I just think if you're looking for a good brow brush, this one is 100% necessary if you are using pomade or any kind of brow powder. All right, now I'm gonna move on to the eye brushes. Okay, these next two brushes I'm actually going to talk about together. They may look almost exactly the same, but they are not. Okay, the first one, this is a Morphe brush. This was actually part of I think it was like a 6-piece set. So this one doesn't have an actual number, but I will be linking all of these brushes down below. So I will find a similar one to this. I know they have one, but this one is just kind of old, and you know, I don't think that they even have this brush anymore. So this brush I love. It is an angled brush, but it's actually kind of rounded. It's like a rounded angle brush. And I use this one for applying eyeshadow primer to my lids. Whether that be concealer or an actual eyeshadow primer, I always prime my lids before I put eyeshadow on. And this is the brush that I use to prime them. It just fits perfectly on the eyelid, and it's a synthetic brush, so it blends out beautifully. Now, this other brush that I use, this one is the Morphe E21, and this one is the one that I will use to go in and set that eyeshadow primer that I just put on. The reason why I set that primer, this is just a little one of my tips, is if you set that primer with either a bone colored shadow or a translucent powder, those eyeshadows that you put on top of it are going to blend so much easier, and it will prevent the eyeshadow from creasing as well. The reason why I like to set it with this one is because it's really flat. So it is still angled, but it's actually flat, and this one is more rounded. For some reason, I just like this one to blend out my primer, and this one I like to set it with. I don't know, that may be extra, but for me, I use these brushes every single day. The next two brushes I'm gonna talk about are my top two blending brushes for eyeshadow. The first one is the Morphe M441. This is just your typical big fluffy blending brush. I love this one for blending in my first transition shade. So on my eyeshadow today, you can kind of see that shade right here on the top. So I always go in using this one and putting that first shade in my crease and in my high crease, and I usually am pretty messy with it, but I always put that first transition shade there so that everything just looks really gradient and blended and there aren't any harsh lines. So this is my favorite brush to do that with. It's very, very soft. It blends out shadows so beautifully. I also really love using this brush when I'm not going to be wearing any eyeshadow, but I just want to like throw bronzer in my crease just to give my face a little bit more life and to open up my eyes a little bit. I will use this brush. I'll dip it just in bronzer, and I'll just go and messily throw it all throughout my crease, even a little bit on my lids, just to bring my eyes out a little bit more. Now the next brush I'm going to talk about, this is also a blending brush. This one is a little bit smaller than the M441. This is the Morphe M433. Now this brush is, I can't describe the shape, but it is tapered. I think this is a really great detail brush for blending shadow into your low crease to kind of intensify the crease. So if you guys can see that first shade right here, like I talked about, I used the M441 for that one. This deeper color right here in my crease, a little bit lower in my crease, I used this brush for. It just fits perfectly in there. The way that it's shaped, it just really helps to blend those shadows flawlessly. If you were looking for just some really good and basic blending brushes that are really gonna do the trick for you, but you don't wanna go out and spend a lot of money, these two are so good, and I cannot recommend these two enough. Okay, my next brush I'm going to talk about is the Morphe M506. I use this brush to pack on color onto my outer V. So if you can see this darker shade right here, I used this brush to kind of just pack the color on and then blend it with the other shadows. Just the way that it's shaped, it's pointed, it's really small. It's not super dense, so it's really easy to blend those shadows. So I really love this brush too. Okay, I only have 4 more brushes to talk about, and then we're done. The next is, I feel like, another staple. This is the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill JH41 brush. So if you guys can see this really shimmery shade right here on my lid, I use this brush to pack on that color. Typically, if I'm gonna be wearing a shimmery shade like I am right now, I will spray my brush with Fix Plus or some kind of setting spray, and I will dip it into the shadow and then pack it onto the lid. It's just the perfect shape. It's really flat, it's dense. This is just a great, like, basic brush that I feel like everyone needs. Okay, this next one, oh my god, I love this brush so much. This is the Morphe E18. This brush is so good for blending shadow on your lower lash line. I have like 3 of these brushes. Putting some kind of color or shade on my lower lash line is something that I do not skip ever. If I'm doing my makeup, I'm putting something on my lash line, whether that's eyeshadow, whether it's bronzer, whatever it is, I use this brush for it. This brush is just, it's really dense, but it's also really soft at the same time, and it just blends out shadow so flawlessly. So this dark shade that you see right here, this is actually eyeshadow. I actually don't really use very much eyeliner. I just throw shadow on my lower lash line and it kind of just looks like eyeliner. But I really like using eyeshadow rather than using eyeliner just because it kind of blows it out a little bit and just makes it look really blended and kind of smoky, and I love putting eyeshadow on my lower lash line. I feel like it just opens up your eyes and really just completes the makeup look. So if you were looking for a really good brush to apply shadow to your lower lash line, this one is it. Okay, two more. This is the Morphe E47. So sometimes, there's a couple of ways I use this brush. Sometimes if I put on my shadow and let's say I kind of mess it up a little bit, or I blend it out a little bit too far, or it's just really messy right here, like in this area, I will go in with this brush. I will dip it in translucent powder, and I will use this brush to kind of clean it up. So I will just get the brush with powder on it, and I will just literally like stamp it right here. And I'm gonna try and do it right now so you can kind of see how I did that right now. I had some powder left over on it, but I just put the powder here and then I kind of just like swoop it down. So if you can kind of tell the difference between these two eyes, this one is really sharp and cleaned up, and this one is a little bit more messy. I'm gonna go in and even this out just because I feel like you can use this brush for so many other things too. Like, I don't know if you're like contouring on your cheeks, it's just very sharp, and I feel like it would fit like really great to clean up. Like if you mess up your bronzer down here, you could go in with translucent powder and just kind of like clean up your contour as well. I just love this brush so much. I think it's really different, and I don't have anything like this in my collection. All right, and last but certainly not least, this is the Sephora Pro Small Shadow Brush. This is just a really perfect detailed brush to apply highlight or shadow or whatever you're applying into your like the tear duct of your eye. So if you can see this shade right here, highlighting my inner corners, I use this brush. I just dip it into my highlight, honestly, or you can, whatever shadow you're wanting to put in there, it just fits perfectly into that little tear duct of your eye, and it fits really great on your brow bone as well. Highlighting my inner corner and my brow bone is just something that I always do, no matter if I'm doing an everyday look, if I'm doing a full face, it doesn't matter. I'm always highlighting my inner corner and my brow bone. It just really opens up my eyes and just gives my eyes life, especially if they're like really tired. It just really opens them up and brightens them. So again, this is the Sephora brush. It's the Pro Small Shadow. All right, guys, so that is it. Like I said, I do have and use more brushes than this, but these are just my staple brushes that I feel like are just my top brushes in my collection. Obviously, I love all of these so much, or else I wouldn't be talking about them, but I cannot recommend these brushes enough. They are all so great, and I use them all for different things. So like I said, I will be linking all of these brushes down below. I actually may do a blog post and just have them listed all out and sort of just describe each of them in a blog post as well, just in case you guys ever need to refer to that and you don't have time to like skim through the video. And I will put links of all of these brushes in that blog post as well. So by the time this video comes out, that blog post will already be done. So the blog post is on my website for you to reference if you ever need it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it helped you in some way. Please don't forget to subscribe before you leave, like the video, and turn on the notification bell so that you never miss my videos. And I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.